Alright, so I figured I'd upload the longer version of my samosas and how I made them for anyone who would like to see how I made them outside of the short, because you know with the short you're cutting out a lot of time. But it's going to be minimum commentary. This is basically a watch and learn type thing, but I will hop in and out here and there. I do a lot of stirring with this recipe. At this particular point, it's because I don't want the garlic to burn. Alright, here I add the ground beef. And with this, unless you have one of those, I don't even know what they call them, because I just use a spatula. You want to make sure you break that ground beef down as fine as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the smaller it is, the better. You'll see it. The cold meat brought the temperature down, but it's gonna come back up. Just keep stirring. You know, you let it sit and then stir. Okay, at this point, I add my spices. Alright, so now you just want to mix this all up, get everything infused together. The meat with the spices with the meat, the fat, get that fat rendered. Bring it out, mix it all up. You don't want to just clump a whole bunch of spices on one side of the pan and, you know, expect it to get in all the meat. But I'm sure I didn't have to tell you that. Anyway, here at this point, you can see the fat it has rendered at this point, and the spices, the meat, everything is pretty much well blended. I'm going to keep breaking this meat down because, again, I want it fine. I want it small because these samosas are small. At this point, I add the potatoes. I do not drain this meat or strain it because I want the potatoes to cook in that fat and all that flavor, those spices, and as opposed to straining it and draining it and then adding water or something. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to cook these potatoes in the fat and the juice, the natural juices of this meat and those spices. Keeping this covered in between stirs is going to help those potatoes cook all the way through. Also, when you're dicing your potatoes, you want to do small dice. You don't want to put medium or large diced potatoes in here because it's going to take much longer to cook them thoroughly. And they're also not going to fit in that samosa unless you're making a big one. But either way, I recommend you just do small diced potatoes. That way you can make sure they're all the way done. Okay, so at this point the potatoes are done. So I go ahead and add my cilantro, my green onions, and the peas. Also, it is very important not to overcook these vegetables because at this point the meat's done, the potatoes are done. You just want to get these peas, cilantro, and peppers. You just want to kind of get them steamed, but you want to keep that some crunch when it comes to the bell peppers. And yeah, I want to keep them vibrant. Dull doesn't mean done, and bright doesn't mean it ain't right. It's a happy little medium, and this is it. Now at this point, the meat and everything has been strained, drained, patted dry. Okay, these are large flour tortillas. You can get the extra large ones. They'll be fine as well. All you do is cut these in half, like so. Then you're going to stack them up because we're going to cut them again in quarters. Also, I forgot to mention the flour, water. I put some onion powder, garlic powder, and a little seasoning in this little mix. It's going to be kind of like your glue. You don't want it too thick. You don't want it too runny. As you can see, pretty lean. The meat was lean anyway, the ground beef was, but you can see it's not greasy. All right, so for the folding, this is pretty simple after you've practiced for a bit. You just want to make sure that corner right there is closed. You see at the point, you want to make sure there's no hole or any spot for anything to leak out. And I started off using this brush, but it ended up being too messy and just stupid. So eventually I just started using my finger. But as you can see, I'm paying attention to the corner at the bottom right there. You roll it over, and you can always rewind the video to see what I'm doing. But I'm emphasizing that little corner at the end down there. I'm gonna close them up again. That flour mixture is gonna act like glue. It's gonna be like glue. All right, as you can see, it's kind of like a little cup or a little tulip. If you can roll a blunt, you can do this. I don't smoke weed, I don't roll blunts, and I can do it. It just takes a small amount of practice. That's it. They do not have to be perfect at all. I've rolled some very imperfect ones, and they came out well. Anywho, here I'm filling them up. As you'll see also in this video, I kind of sampled with some bigger ones because I was filling this up and thinking to myself, with my inner big back, this isn't going to be enough. So you'll see what I'm talking about. And if you hear whining in the background, that is not a small child. That is one of my cats. I have two. They're very spoiled. They're not allowed in the kitchen, so they tend to bug me whenever I'm in there. They're very spoiled. Anyway, this is not about them. This is about me. That's what you're hearing, if you hear it. And this is what I was talking about. This is a very, this is a bigger samosa. Of course, it took a bigger tortilla. I did not cut it as small, but I just wanted to see. And I also added cheese to this one. I was experimenting, guys. Don't mind me. You're going to see that a lot on my channel. As you can see, that one is significantly bigger than the other one. But I just wanted to see how it would be if I added cheese to it and if I made it bigger. All right, so after a few rounds in the deep fryer and setting them aside, letting them strain, I know this probably looks ridiculous, but it actually turned out well. Now the cheese did melt, and create a little, I guess, cheese grease, but I enjoy them. I like them. I prefer them this way, actually, and I'm glad I experimented with it. This is more my speed. Again, you can make the smaller ones to make them look cute and pretty, but if you got an appetite like me and a high metabolism, you're going to want to make the bigger ones. And that's it. These are my samosas.